There was a bloody knife on her left hand, a long deep cut on her neck, an eerie smile on her face. Two different security cameras facing her bed directly. There were 5 other cases of young adults cutting themselves in their private area, which was later found to be a trend. A trend which was later found by secret cults. Was Nora a cultist? Did she really kill herself? It was 7:14 a.m. on a freezing Saturday morning when police officers arrived at apartment 302 in Cedar Hollow, Oregon. Inside, they found 28-year-old Nora Whitmore lying motionless on her bed. A kitchen knife rested loosely in one of her hands. There were no signs of forced entry, no signs of a struggle. Nothing appeared stolen. What disturbed investigators most wasn't the scene itself. It was Nora's expression. Despite the mysterious circumstances surrounding her death, a faint smile remained on her face, and a huge cut mark on her neck. Detectives searched the apartment from top to bottom. Every door was locked. Every window was secured. Security cameras showed nobody entering or leaving during the night. According to the medical examiner, Nora had died sometime between 2 o'clock and 3 a.m. But as investigators dug deeper into her final days, they uncovered something far stranger. Before I continue, please like and subscribe. For nearly 3 months before her death, Nora had been documenting a series of bizarre incidents. She claimed she was waking up each morning with mysterious injuries she couldn't explain. She insisted she was hearing footsteps in her apartment late at night. And most disturbing of all, she believed someone or something was visiting her every night at exactly 2:13 a.m. The investigation quickly shifted away from the apartment and toward Nora herself. Who was she? And what had happened during the final months of her life? To everyone who knew her, Nora Whitmore lived an ordinary life. She worked remotely as a freelance graphic designer, rarely missed a deadline, and spent most weekends hiking the trails surrounding Cedar Hollow. Neighbors described her as quiet. She wasn't known to have enemies. She had never been involved in criminal activity, and according to her family, she had no history of sleep disorders or mental illness, which made what investigators found on her laptop even more unsettling. At first, her friends dismissed her fears. Then investigators spoke with her closest friend, Emily. Emily admitted Nora had been calling her almost every morning for weeks. At first, the conversation sounded like ordinary anxiety, but eventually Nora became convinced something impossible was happening. She insisted that every night, at exactly 2:13 a.m., she would hear 3 slow knocks. Not on her apartment door, not on a window, somewhere inside the apartment. Always 3 knocks, always at the exact same time, somewhere inside the apartment. Emily admitted she begged Nora to stay with her for a few nights, but Nora refused. She insisted she needed to know what was happening. 1 week before her death, Nora purchased 2 indoor security cameras. One overlooked her bedroom, the other faced the apartment's front door. She told Emily, "If I can't trust my own memory, maybe I can trust a camera." When detectives reviewed the footage, the first several nights appeared completely normal. Nora slept peacefully. Nothing moved. Nothing entered the apartment. Then they reached the recording from 11 days before her death. At precisely 2:13 a.m., Nora slowly sat upright in bed, not as though she had been startled awake, not like someone responding to a nightmare. Every movement seemed slow, deliberate, almost mechanical. Her eyes were open, yet she never blinked. For nearly 2 minutes she remained perfectly still, staring toward the dark hallway outside her bedroom. Then, without turning on a single light, she stood. She walked to the apartment door, unlocked it, stepped into the hallway, and disappeared from view. 23 minutes later, she calmly returned, locked the door behind her, lay back down, closed her eyes. By morning, she behaved as though nothing had happened. The following night, the exact same thing occurred. Then the next, and the next. Every recording began at 2:13 a.m. Every recording ended before 2:40 a.m. Yet there was another mystery. Nora's phone showed no activity during those times. Her smartwatch recorded only a handful of steps. It was almost as though technology itself had failed to record where she had gone. Except for the cameras. Detectives retraced the route using security footage from nearby streets. Night after night, Nora quietly walked out of her apartment complex and headed toward the dense forest bordering Cedar Hollow. There were no homes in that direction, no businesses, no campsites. only miles of abandoned logging trails that had remained untouched for decades. Search teams followed the same route Nora had taken. What they found raised even more questions. Deep within a secluded clearing sat dozens of carefully stacked stones arranged in perfect circles. At the center stood an old weathered wooden chair. It faced deeper into the forest, as though someone, or something, expected visitors. Forensic investigators searched every inch of the area. No fingerprints, no recent DNA, no discarded clothing, no footprints except Nora's own. She had walked into the clearing ... and she had walked back out, completely alone. Detectives couldn't explain why she kept returning to that isolated location. Witnesses couldn't explain her behavior. The evidence couldn't explain her death. Then the forensic report arrived. The medical examiner confirmed Nora had died between 2 o'clock and 3 a.m. on the night she was found. Toxicology results showed no alcohol or illegal drugs in her system. There were no defensive injuries suggesting she had fought with another person. And despite weeks of investigation, detectives were unable to establish a clear motive, identify a suspect, or determine exactly what happened during Nora's final moments. Months later, the case officially went cold. To this day, Nora Whitmore's death remains one of Cedar Hollow's most unsettling unsolved mysteries. Was she unknowingly wandering in her sleep? Was someone manipulating her without leaving a trace? Or was there another explanation that investigators simply never uncovered? Whatever the truth may be, it disappeared into the forest with her. And somewhere, hidden among those silent trees, the answers may still be waiting. A few weeks later, 5 different cases came to the FBI, and they were all cases of people killing themselves in the most brutal way. 3 of them cut themselves in their private area. Then it became unsettling to male and a female. It was recorded that it was not just a day of cutting themselves, but it had been repeatedly till they finally ripped it off. A week later it was found out to be a supposed silly trend among young adults to cut themselves jokingly to prove things, for example joining a secret cult and so on. Then another question came into broad light. Was Nora into a secret cult?